I never thought my wedding rehearsal dinner would end in screaming. People argue at family gatherings, sure, but this wasn't a simple spat over who gets the last piece of cake. This was betrayal exposed in front of both families, hours before the biggest day of my life. It started with small, uneasy signs. My maid of honor kept giving me looks like she wanted to say something but couldn't. My fiancé's best man kept checking his phone nervously, and my mom wouldn't stop wringing her hands, whispering to my dad with a tight jaw. The whole dinner had a tension underneath it, like a string pulled too tight, ready to snap. I just didn't know yet that I was the one sitting on the fault line. We just raised our glasses for a toast when the maid of honor suddenly stood up. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. "I can't do this," she said. "I can't sit here and let you marry him without knowing." The room went silent. Forks hovered midair, glasses half raised. My fiancé turned slowly, his expression freezing into a mask. "What the hell are you doing?" he hissed. But she ignored him. She looked right at me, her eyes full of tears. "He's not who you think he is. I've been keeping his secret, but I can't anymore." And in that instant, I knew my entire life was about to detonate. I swallowed hard, my voice barely steady. "What secret?" She hesitated, glancing around the room like she was searching for backup. Finally, she whispered, "He's been cheating." The words cracked like thunder in the silence. "For months," gasps erupted. My dad slammed his hand on the table, my mom covered her mouth, and the best man dropped his phone like it had burned him. My fiancé shot to his feet, furious. "You lying bitch," he shouted. "Why would you say something like that?" His outburst only made the suspicion worse. I felt the room spinning, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear, and all I could think was, if this was true, then everything I thought I knew about him was a lie. My maid of honor flinched at his words but didn't back down. "Don't you dare try to make me the liar here. I've seen the messages. I've seen the hotel receipts. You think you're careful, but you're not." The entire room erupted in murmurs. My aunt whispered something like, "Oh my God," while my dad was already pulling off his glasses, rubbing his temples like he couldn't believe this was happening. My fiancé slammed his fist on the table. "You're just jealous. You've always wanted what I have." His voice cracked with rage, but beneath it there was fear. I saw it flicker in his eyes and my stomach twisted, because fear usually means guilt. I stood up so fast my chair screeched against the floor. "Enough!" My hands were trembling, but my voice was louder than I expected. "If you're saying this, show me. Show me the proof." My maid of honor's hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen a few times before holding it out to me. Text messages, dozens of them, flirty, explicit, undeniable. My fiancé's name right there at the top. The room gasped again. My chest went cold, my fingers numb as I scrolled through messages I didn't want to believe. Each word cut like a knife. I looked up at him, my throat tight. "How could you?" He lunged forward, snatching at the phone, but I pulled back just in time. "Those aren't real," he yelled, his voice cracking. "She faked them. She's been obsessed with me for years, you all know it." But no one seemed convinced. The best man looked down at his shoes, avoiding eye contact. My dad muttered something about calling the wedding off right then and there. And me? I just stood there, gripping the phone like it was the only thing keeping me upright. The man I was supposed to marry tomorrow was either a liar or the victim of an elaborate setup, and in that moment, I honestly didn't know which was worse. My fiancé's face was flushed red, a vein pulsing at his temple. He pointed at my maid of honor like she was the villain. "She's been in love with me for years. Ask anyone. This is her last pathetic attempt to ruin what we have." But the more he shouted, the less convincing he became. My maid of honor didn't even flinch. Her tears had dried and she just looked tired. "If I wanted you," she said quietly, "I would have had you, but I don't. I wanted her to know the truth before she made the biggest mistake of her life." Her words sliced through the air like a blade. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. My eyes scanned the room, desperate for someone, anyone, to tell me what to believe. But all I saw was pity in their faces. Pity for me. And pity is never a good sign. I turned to my fiancé, my voice trembling but sharp. Then explain it. If you didn't write these texts, if you didn't meet her at hotels, then who did? Because someone sure as hell has your phone number, your photo, your exact way of talking. He faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. His eyes darted down, then away, and that flicker of hesitation made my stomach sink like a stone. My dad stood up slowly, his chair groaning against the floor. "Son," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully." But my fiancé had no words. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, and the silence screamed louder than any confession. Then the best man, silent until now, finally spoke. "He's not lying about everything," he muttered, not quite meeting anyone's gaze. The room froze. All heads turned toward him. My fiancé's head snapped up, fury and panic mingling in his eyes. "Shut up," he hissed, his voice sharp, almost feral. But the best man looked at me, guilt etched all over his face. I told him to come clean. I told him it wasn't worth it, but he wouldn't listen. His voice cracked and he added quietly, "I'm sorry." And in that moment I realized the betrayal wasn't just real, it had witnesses. The room erupted all over again, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, my mom gasping loud enough to cut through it all. My fiancé lunged toward the best man, grabbing his arm. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snarled, his face twisted in rage. But the best man yanked free, his voice shaking but firm. "I do. I covered for you. I lied for you. I was there when you snuck out, when you made excuses. I can't keep doing it anymore." Every pair of eyes swung back to me. I felt like the floor had disappeared under my feet. My chest was tight, my ears ringing, the phone still burning in my hand like a brand. And for the first time that night, my fiancé didn't even try to deny it. He just looked at me, pleading, broken, cornered. "I love you," he blurted out, desperation dripping from every word. "Yes, I messed up, but it didn't mean anything. Those women, they were nothing compared to you." His words made my skin crawl. Women, plural. My breath hitched and my hand shot to my mouth. My dad let out a roar, slamming his hand on the table so hard the silverware rattled. "Enough! You humiliate my daughter in front of everyone and you expect us to believe this garbage." But my fiancé kept his eyes on me, tears welling up. "Please don't let them take this away from us. We can fix it. Just give me a chance." And in that moment I realized how manipulative he really was. He wasn't begging for forgiveness. He was begging to save face. The maid of honor's voice cut through the chaos, firm and steady now. "She deserves better. Everyone here knows it. And if you really loved her, you wouldn't have done this to her in the first place." Her words landed like a hammer. The guests who had been whispering and shifting uncomfortably now nodded, murmuring agreement. It was like the tide had turned against him, and there was no coming back. My fiancé's mask cracked. His face hardened, his jaw clenched, and his eyes went dark. "You think you've won?" he hissed at her. "You have no idea what you've just started." The threat hung heavy in the air, and a chill ran down my spine. Because in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about something far more dangerous. The entire room seemed to shrink after his words. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a venom that made my skin prickle. My maid of honor stood her ground, but I saw her knuckles turn white as she gripped the back of her chair. My dad took a step forward, his voice low and steady. "Are you threatening her? In my house?" For a second, my fiancé didn't answer. He just smiled, a cold, joyless curve of his lips. "I'm saying you don't know everything, and if you keep pushing me, you're going to regret it." The air was so thick I could barely breathe. People weren't just angry anymore, they were afraid. And that fear was worse than any shouting. My mom whispered something to me, her hand gripping my arm. "We should end this. Now." But I couldn't move. My eyes were glued to him, to the stranger standing where the man I thought I loved used to be. The best man tried to speak again, his voice breaking. "Don't do this, just tell the truth. Tell them what you told me." That caught everyone's attention. A ripple went through the room. My fiancé's expression cracked for just a heartbeat, and I saw something raw and ugly flicker in his eyes. "What truth?" I demanded, my voice hoarse but sharp. "What the hell else are you hiding from me?" He laughed then. Not a joyful laugh, not even a mocking one. It was hollow, bitter, like he'd already lost and wanted to scorch the earth on his way out. "You think it was just a mistake, just some fling? No, it wasn't. I was never going to be the man you thought I was." He turned to the guests, his voice rising. "And none of you are saints either. You want to sit there and judge me. Half of you are hiding things just as bad." Gasps rippled through the room, but my heart was pounding too loudly to hear them all. My legs felt weak, and I had to grip the edge of the table to steady myself. Because in that moment, I realized he wasn't just admitting guilt. He was threatening to drag everyone down with him. The room erupted again, this time not just with gasps but with shouting. Relatives turned on each other, voices clashing, everyone demanding to know what he meant. My aunt was crying, my uncle was swearing under his breath, and my dad had to slam the table just to get people to calm down. But my fiancé thrived in the chaos. His eyes glinted as he leaned back, arms folded like he finally had control again. "You all want secrets," he said, his voice booming over the noise. "Fine. Let's talk about what really goes on in this family." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about me anymore. He was about to weaponize every dirty piece of gossip he knew. He pointed across the table at one of my cousins. "Should I tell them where you really were last Christmas Eve? Because it sure as hell wasn't with your husband." A ripple of shocked gasps filled the room. My cousin's face went white, her husband whipping his head toward her with wide eyes. She stammered, "That's not true," but her voice shook, betraying her. Then he turned his gaze on the best man. "And you want to act high and mighty. How about the money you borrowed that never found its way back?" The best man's face flushed crimson, and he slammed his fist on the table but didn't deny it. The whispers grew louder, the whole room fracturing into suspicion and betrayal. Finally, his eyes landed back on me. For a moment, the smugness faded, replaced by something darker, resentment. "And you," his voice dropped lower, but everyone leaned in. "You act like the victim, but you're not so innocent either." My stomach clenched. "What the hell are you talking about?" I snapped, but my voice cracked. He smiled, that cold, venomous smile. "Tell them about the messages you sent last year. Tell them about the person you swore was just a friend." The room went dead silent. Every eye was on me now. And for the first time that night, I felt the ground shifting beneath my own feet. My throat went dry and heat rushed to my face. "That's not the same thing," I snapped, but my voice cracked, weak against the heavy silence. "It was just texts. It never went anywhere. You know that." But the damage was done. I could see it in their faces, the doubt, the confusion, the way whispers started circling again. My fiancé leaned back, victorious, like he had finally managed to drag me down into the dirt with him. The maid of honor stepped in front of me, her voice fierce. "This isn't about her. Don't you dare twist this to make her the villain." She turned to the guests, her chin high. "He's the one who lied, who cheated, who destroyed everything." And for the first time that night, the room seemed to rally, not against me, not against her, but against him. The shouting rose again, but my dad's voice cut through it like thunder. "Get out." His face was red, his jaw clenched, his finger pointing straight at my fiancée. "You've humiliated my daughter enough. You're not welcome here. Not now, not ever." For a moment my fiancé just stood there, his chest heaving, his eyes darting like he wanted to fight. But then something in him broke. He grabbed his jacket, muttered something I couldn't hear, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls rattled. Silence fell, heavy, broken, final, and I stood there, shaking, surrounded by the wreckage of what was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. People would keep talking. Secrets had been spilled that couldn't be buried again. My engagement was over, but the fallout was only beginning.